everyone. This is Sanjeev, co-founder and CEO of Avira Digital. Welcome to Avira Digital's podcast series, which focuses on redefining medical affairs and evidence management, digitization, and AI. Today, we have Steve Cofone, a digital transformation leader, working with top 10 pharmaceutical company. Steve, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Sanjeev. First, before we start, I want to provide a disclaimer that the views expressed in my responses are my own and not necessarily those of my employer. And that said, my name is Steve Cofone. I have over 20 years of experience serving multiple industries, primarily life sciences, as both an employee and a management consultant. I highly appreciate you referring to me as a digital transformation leader. I don't take those words lightly, but I do feel like there's an enormous investment required from everyone in the organization, not just financially, but emotionally, to succeed in true digital transformation. And not everyone goes all in on that. And they don't have the success they're striving for.
Quick question coming in my mind. There is an explosion of data and richness of information flowing into medical affairs these days. How do you think digitization are reshaping the landscape of medical affairs within the pharma industry? And especially AI coming in play, how do you see the transformation playing in combining both of this?
Good question. Well, honestly, I think there's been a ton of data in medical affairs for a while now, both structured and actually unstructured. But the challenge has been making sense of it. Having the relevant insights from that data integrated and available in the right places and at the right times for consumption and business decision making is really what I feel is important. Now, artificial intelligence has allowed us to make sense of that data like never before. It allows us to interrogate the data more. I like that word, interrogate. Not only get more human-like responses, but the power of it allows us to process that data in a more concise and relevant way to achieve better actions and more insight at that point where it's most needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you foresee an AI, big data analytics is changing the landscape of medical affairs or integrated evidence management strategies across pharma?
I would say it really depends on your company's strategic imperatives and direction. But I think that evidence planning process that you mentioned, or any kind of medical affairs activity, is really rooted in the intelligence that you have from both within and outside of your organization. And advances in data analytics, like you say, along with that strategic direction from your organization, are key drivers of insight and action. As I mentioned previously, the ability for AI and analytics to make sense of enormous amounts of data can be really powerful in any kind of decision making or suggested action. We really have the ability, never before though, with the evidence planning approach, especially, to tie strategy to action, not only through a data-driven approach like you're saying, but also through true workflow advances.
That brings up an interesting topic to me. You have been involved in this large digital transformation program, especially you touched upon evidence management. What do you think about the key challenges during this implementation or pre-implementation? What are the different challenges you see?
Implementing an evidence planning solution?
Yes.
Yeah, great question. Well, this is relevant, right? First and foremost, don't underestimate your organization's understanding of the business process, like developing an evidence plan. We focus sometimes too much. I'm a technologist. A lot of people focus too much on the solution versus the business process itself. And if you only make it about the technology solution, then you will not have the success that you want. I'm a huge believer in process mapping, those of you that know me. And even if a process is established throughout the organization, take the opportunity when you have a large initiative like this to revisit that, get people familiar with it. Secondly, let's say clean up your data to allow for transparency and more real-time decision-making. Huge change management issue right there, right? The ability shifting from we get to control the message, we report things out, to real-time transparency. associated with the kind of real-time decision making that we say we want as organizations. And then, of course, having executive sponsorship, a good change management plan, a good change management approach are critical to pull all this stuff through. So those are what I'd say are challenges, opportunities, not only for evidence planning, but in general, any large digital transformation initiative.
Fantastic. You have quality data. You talked about the digital transformation project. Now, everybody would like to hear from you. What are the different compelling case studies or example? How are you redefining your AI strategies, which demonstrating a tangible improvements in the areas of evidence management or medical affairs in general?
Yeah, I won't get into too many specifics of my company. I will say compelling case studies around AI strategies. Look, the pharma industry is really embracing artificial intelligence, which those of you who have been in pharma for a long time, we have the stigma of not always being the fastest adopters of game-changing technology. I think we're embracing it, but we're also learning a lot of lessons because we're not always having success as an industry with this, right? What I can offer you all for advice is focus on the business impact that you're looking to realize with AI. Just go after the shiny object. I know this is advice that you've heard from countless people, not just me, but I do really feel like there's success if you live by that mantra. There are a number of white papers and viewpoints out there from consulting firms and technology vendors. You know what? There's one from MAPS, the Medical Affairs Professional Society, that I really particularly enjoyed. And I've kind of seen many of the companies in our industry experimenting with similar use cases, and there are things coming from those same viewpoints. They're not groundbreaking viewpoints. They're all kind of touching on the same themes. So I think many of the pharma companies are thinking through the same lens, and they didn't necessarily need those white papers to get there. Many of these examples that you were asking about, like really focused on things like searching and summarization, more efficient search, and ability to kind of pull something together in a summary. That's where generative AI comes in. Recommendations for the next action that's happening, a better workflow. And then, of course, like where you start getting into more advanced use cases is around new content generation. And get further towards that, you can really see the opportunity that we as pharma companies have in terms of accelerating and differentiating content, both to drive productivity, which has been, I think, the major benefit that the companies have been focusing on, as well as improved HCP and patient education, which is where we're all striving to get.
Fantastic. So many use cases I've been hearing, so it's great to hear from you. So my favorite questions after that, I know the industry is looking for this AI implementation, but any particular challenges or the risk with respect to, I would say, data privacy or regulatory compliance where you see?
I would say in general, there's no shortage of risks out there related to AI. And I think they relate to, frankly, most industries, and even the other lens to the AI companies themselves, right? Like copyright and antitrust concerns, you name it, they're in court daily, right? I mean, you feel this way. That said, for us in pharma and medical affairs specifically, we have more significant risks associated with those areas you mentioned, data privacy and regulatory compliance. Look, given that the point of generative AI, it makes it somewhat unpredictable in terms of things like bias and hallucination, that it can be extraordinarily tough or almost impossible to tell regulatory bodies, here's exactly what you're going to get as an output. But I don't think that's a reason to avoid experimentation, but I do think that's why human in the loop phrase is really necessary. We need to be balanced, and that I think is a theme you're seeing across our industry. I think the risks that I'm most intrigued by, Sanjeev, are the ones that we don't know about yet. Right? Who would think that we'd be at a point like where we are with Sora from OpenAI that just came out, where you generate a 1 sentence prompt and you get a full 1 minute video, and it's lifelike. And while we're sitting here marveling at human ingenuity and the feat that just happened, keep in mind that there are others with all of this technology always thinking about how they can abuse it. And I think that's where we're starting to see the focus. But frankly, we don't know what we don't know. And as much as that's scary, it's intriguing.
No, absolutely. And Steve, just to add that addressing this risk requires a multidisciplinary approach.
Mhm.
Uh, Starting from data science to healthcare knowledge, regulatory compliance, you touched upon ethics, stakeholders, engagements across defining the AI. So really exciting time ahead of us. So,
Yeah,
so as we look to the future, right, and as a technology leader,
yeah.
what trends or advancement do you see or anticipate in this intersection of the digitization, AI, and medical affairs? And how do you think the pharma industry is going to reshape approach in the near future?
Trends, advancements. Let's see. Look, AI, of course, is going to be, in my mind, the major trend that we see. It's going to be this source of intrigue and opportunity for both medical affairs and the pharma industry as a whole. I don't think we can gloss over that, and I don't think anybody's going to say anything different. Just in terms of tempering expectations, as a pharma company, there's an enormous amount of funding when you think about what's going into the companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. And we're talking billions. If you just take Microsoft's rumored $10 billion investment in OpenAI, or even something like the $4 billion invested from Google into Anthropic. By the way, I'm pretty bullish on Anthropic. A vast majority of major companies in the world are smaller in totality than those single investments. So when you're discussing the opportunities that we have as pharma companies with AI, how much investment we're putting towards them in comparison to what these gigantic companies are putting towards them, they're putting amounts that are bigger than most companies. You've got to kind of adjust that to understand the enormity of it. This amount of investment is going to create this magnitude of innovation that we can't even predict. Because today we're seeing challenges of how do you pull data in from graphics and charts into your AI models and outputs? We're seeing that be improved in a matter of days and weeks. And it used to take years, if we even got there, to see progress like that. So I see that AI trend continuing. I see this focus on multimodal continuing. We're seeing how quickly that changes. A year ago, ChatGPT came out. It was text. Now we see everything from Sora to Midjourney with just these marvelous visual feats happening. So going from just text to audio and visual, both from an input perspective, meaning that the models can process these different modes or modalities, but they're now spitting things out in these same modalities. So I think that is where I'd see the most immediate AI related trend continuing. A trend that I hope to see that's renewed is the simple things of focusing on data quality and integration. Whether we're talking about the industry as a whole in pharma or medical affairs in particular, we need to think of AI as a component of digital transformation, not the whole thing. It is not the whole source of digital transformation. And in order to get there, we need good data. Data is going to be for a while now the big focus. We're starting to see the technology change, but with good data, the sky's the limit, right? I mean, you have the opportunity to, one, make better sense of your internal information if you have good data quality to it, right? You blend that together with available external information, which we don't necessarily have control over the data quality of, but with our data quality, you can make sense of that more. You can then digitize your processes, like we talked about earlier, and allow for better information consumption at the point that it's most useful. So really changing the workflow. And then put all that together, Now you can start focusing on the core of our pharma industry, right? Which is taking our life-saving and life-improving products and determining how those can best serve humanity. That's a powerful opportunity, right? It makes me really proud to be a member of this industry and to work in medical affairs. And I would say I look forward to embracing all that with all of you.
Fantastic. And I think correctly said, the medical affairs is certainly a glue between the idea and innovations which is happening in the pharma, which makes the meaningful differences in the patient's life, as you touched upon. And while there is a strong promise around Gen AI, the industry has many questions about Gen AI. And we're all looking forward to see how we can participate in that, making Gen AI as a good reality. So with that, Steve, thank you so much for your time here on behalf of Avira Digital's team. We really appreciate your time and your insights into the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I really enjoyed this.